information shared on Girl Pray On It is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Although I am a licensed mental health counselor, I'm not your therapist. Unless, of course, you're one of my clients. In that case, I am your therapist, and I'll see you in our next session. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapeutic relationship between us. If you are experiencing emotional distress or a mental health crisis, please seek support from a licensed mental health provider in your area or contact a crisis line. Always pray on it, and also reach out when you need help.
But not to us.
All right. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you?
I'm cool. I'm
You're cool?
groovy.
You're groovy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I had a childhood cat named Groovy.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I miss her.
And what did she look like?
Adorable.
She was adorable?
She was adorable. She was like white with gray spots.
Okay.
And we didn't pick the name. She was like, we adopted her, and
Oh.
that was the name they had given her. And I was
Oh.
like, this is a genius name.
Really?
Like, anytime I tell people that my childhood's cat name was Groovy,
Yeah.
they laugh at me.
Yeah.
I think it's a funny name.
It is a funny name.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I thought it was very fitting.
Okay. How old were you when you got this cat?
12.
12. Well, that makes sense because you were 12 and you thought,
It doesn't matter how old you are. Groovy is still a good name, okay?
if you think that Groovy is a good cat name, go ahead and leave it in the comments.
I bet you people are going to walk away from this episode and name their cats Groovy.
Okay, well, maybe we'll see an influx of cat names named Groovy, but I'm glad that you are, in fact, Groovy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
great.
how about you?
I'm great. I'm amazing.
Love it.
Yeah, it's still hot in New York, but we still make it happen. We still make it work, right?
We do.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about
Yeah.
financial independence
Okay.
for women. I want you to tell me,
hmm
if you had to submit a financial compatibility form before getting engaged, what questions would you add?
Oh, man. Okay, this is a great question because honestly, I think that this needs to be a part of the marriage process. Like this needs to be a part of it because
Okay.
wow, I think a lot of people would make a lot of different choices. So financial compatibility, what questions would I add? Okay.
Mhm.
When you are okay, I would add there's a sale and on something that you like but you don't know whether or not you like have to have it. What's your process on thinking about whether or not to buy it? I know that there are some people who are impulse buyers,
Sure.
or there are people who are like deal hunters. So if they see a deal, they want to buy it almost immediately. And then there are some people who are, that's not a part of my financial plan. I'm going to wait on it. I haven't saved up for it. But when you come across a deal on something that's expensive in the store or online, do you immediately buy it? Do you wait on it? What's your process? I feel like that could tell you a lot about someone. Is, for example, like a piece of jewelry, right? Or an expensive piece of jewelry. It's like $1,000. It happens to go on sale and now it's like $900, right? Are you gonna wait on it? Are you gonna buy it?
Mhm.
I feel like that's a good question to ask.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would ask, okay, I'd say you need to go back into your purchase history and tell me what are the biggest purchases that you've made, and
Mhm.
what are your most frequent purchases?
That's a way better answer.
Okay, what are your most frequent purchases? Because I want to know, what is he spending his money on, obviously.
Right.
Is he spending the majority of his money on sneakers?
Are you
Is
trying are you trying to say something?
No, I'm not. I'm not. Is he spending like his money on vacations? Is the most of his money going to necessities?
Yeah.
And he's not spending a lot
Yeah.
on extracurricular
Yeah.
activities,
Yeah.
whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
I just want to know what he spends his money on, basically. And I feel like that's
Okay.
the easiest way to find out.
That's
do you think?
a way better question than what I came up with.
I like yours too.
I would also add, what do you consider to be a big purchase that needs to be talked about? Right? Is it $100, $200, $1,000? What's your threshold, right? You have a family member and that family member needs to borrow $500.
Mm.
Do you give it to them? You don't even think about it? Is it like something that you talk to your spouse about? What's the process?
Yeah.
I want to know if someone is in need, what's your thought process around that? I want to know what you think is like a big amount of
Yeah.
money. Yeah.
That hits on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's that, like, now, how much is he spending
Mm-hmm.
on, or like, what is a big amount of money? And also, like, how generous is he with his money? What is
Mm-hmm.
like a priority in terms of his
Mm-hmm.
money when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to family and comes to you?
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
that.
yeah. I would also want to know, you mentioned spending habits, right? But what do you see as like being a splurge versus being like something like a necessity? Like what's splurge versus necessity? Like some people believe that like a splurge is like buying name brand items at the store versus like buying the off brand. Or do you see a splurge as like a $500 purse? That's what I would also want to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think obviously everyone's definition is going to like vary.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going to have a different perception. I'm not a big spender.
You're
Let's put it
okay.
that way. I'm not a big spender. Every once in a while, I will treat myself.
Mm-hmm.
But for me personally, believe in like saving money
Mm-hmm.
for things that are valuable to me,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's like saving money to buy a house in the future,
Mm-hmm.
or saving money to go on that dream vacation, or
Mm-hmm.
saving money to like do something that I find really valuable, which is to travel and experience other cultures. And so I am personally more inclined to save my money for
Mm-hmm.
those elements.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm much less inclined to make a splurge
Mm.
of buying something designer or like buying a really expensive purse or
Yeah,
shoes.
yeah.
So that would definitely be like a really big splurge. I think that would not really be totally compatible with me
Mm-hmm.
buying expensive designer items, I would
Yeah,
say for sure.
yeah.
That would be a splurge. And not that I'm like against splurges every now and then, but I'm not the type of person who would ever frequently engage in those kind of splurges.
Yeah, so I'm a spender. I love to spend money. I'm working on trying to change that. Like I'm trying to be more anti-capitalist, but I love like I mentioned before, I love a good skincare routine. I like to buy food a lot, so I don't like to be inhibited by a budget. I'm learning to be less consumeristic, if that's a word, right? And trying to be more intentional about the things that I buy. If I were to have to submit questions to a financial compatibility form, I would definitely want to find someone who is more like you, more conscious,
Okay.
right? More conscious of like how they spend and like saving and things like that, because that's not something
Yeah.
that I initially think
Mm-hmm.
about. And I think a lot of that comes from like how we're raised, depending on whether or not you had a childhood where you had to go without, or maybe you had a childhood where everything, all your needs were met, but you didn't always get like the toys that you wanted. I think the way that you're raised often determines how you look at money when you're older.
Yeah.
Those experiences definitely impact the type of how financially literate you are as an
Right.
adult. And so that's what we're talking about today is not
Yes.
only financial literacy but financial independence. How do we become financially independent? What is financial independence? What does
Yeah.
financial independence look like for women in our day and age? What does financial literacy and fluency look like? How might you describe that?
Sure. I think for our viewers out there to remind you, if you are Muslim, of the way in which our religion guides this exact principle, which is we all love the saying, his
Money
money is
is
my
my money,
money and
and
my
my money
money
is
is
my
my
money.
money. So there is this like element of men are sort of expected to be financial providers,
Mhm.
and women are, it is permissible for women to go out and earn their own money, and they don't necessarily have to share
Contribute.
that money or
Yeah.
contribute. That money can be her money for
Mhm.
whatever she decides to do with it.
Yep.
A principle in our religion. And yet now in modern world, it doesn't
Mhm.
always work like that, because we know that in this country,
Mhm.
it is a lot harder
It's very expensive.
nowadays
Yeah.
for there to only be a one income household.
Right.
Most households are now dual income
Mhm.
households.
Mhm.
And so I think that sort of comes into play with this conversation too.
Yeah.
But I think when we're talking about financial independence for women, it is really this element of women having their own, like, access to their own money and being able to earn and spend their money freely based on how they want to. And that is like a really wonderful, beautiful luxury that we have in our religion. However, it can be really difficult in this day and age, as we talked about. So I think what I see a lot is a little bit of a deviation from that, where maybe women have a little bit more pressure nowadays to contribute financially to the household. And I think obviously it's going to vary from household to household. I think some women may feel empowered by that, and some women may feel resentful about that. This is going to vary from person to person, and every person's situation is unique, obviously. But I think the fact that this is really built into our religion as a foundational aspect, that women are entitled to have their own source of income and use that income however they see fit, is something that is like such a wonderful privilege that we're given.
Yeah, it is. I think it's super important for all women to have a stream of income or the potential of a stream of income, because you never know what might happen, right?
Yeah.
We get married and the hope is, inshallah, that you're going to be with that person forever. But that's not always the case. That person might have an illness that might prevent them from earning. They might pass away. They might leave. You might get a divorce. There's a number of things that can happen.
Exactly.
It's super important for women to be able to, one, have an education, and then have an ability to have some sort of income where they can potentially provide for themselves, right? Especially living here in America, where you are pretty much on your own. If you don't have an income, you are SOL, right? You have a responsibility to just figure it out, right? And so that's why it's so important for women these days to have those streams of income and become financially independent. And what that can look like can be very different. You can go through a traditional career route, but you can also find investments, right? There are other ways to try generate those streams of income. And I'm wondering, what do you think financial independence looks like in a modern Muslim family or marriage dynamic?
Yeah. I think it's important to point out that I believe, and I think it's in alignment with Islam, that none of us are truly independent. We are all interdependent. This is a community-based faith where we truly believe in the element of it takes a village, that we're a family-oriented community. We help each other out. And when you enter into a marriage, you're coming to a place of, hopefully we complement each other and we have different responsibilities in the relationship in order to make it work. And so for a lot of people, what that does look like is having one sole financial provider and having another person who is at home taking care of the children, taking care of the household everyday responsibilities such as cooking, laundry, and that is divided up. And so I think in a modern Muslim marriage, there is still this element of no one is truly independent. We're still depending on each other.
Okay, so it's interdependence.
It is interdependent. We're still dependent on one another, or interdependent with one another, however you want to phrase it. We still need each other in order to have a successful family. There can still be a financial independence that exists for a woman within that structure. So I guess I wanted to point that out. But when I think of financial independence for a woman, I think of the fact that she has her own bank account that only she can withdraw money from. And I think that this is very much in alignment with our values as Muslims. that she has that set up for herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I mean when I say interdependence.
Mm.
So we are interdependent on one another for making a family system work by dividing household responsibilities, by dividing financial responsibilities. But this element of a woman should be able to put aside money for herself that is completely hers, I think is quite important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's your thought on 50-50 marriages? Like, we're both putting in 50% of the income into the family.
I think that, again, this is a case-by-case basis, and everybody's situation is unique.
Mm-hmm.
And you may be in a financial situation where that is required. I don't think that anyone could possibly say that's a big no-no, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a necessity. But in an ideal situation, I think maybe there is a little bit more financial flexibility there where the woman has more choices. And I think this religion is so beautiful in that there's quite a misunderstanding or misinterpretation that the Western world has of this religion, in that it's oppressive in some sort of way. But if you actually, and specifically oppressive towards women, but if you actually look deeper, like, there's so much freedom in this sort of setup in terms of a woman has the ability to choose how she wants to set up herself for financial success. Maybe she chooses to have a business or to work and to have that sort of financial independence, or she can choose to stay home with her children and work out however she can with her husband that he's going to be the sole provider. I think there's so much flexibility and ability that we have in this religion to make those choices, which is really just a freedom. What do you think?
I think a 50-50 household is, if you have to do it, fine. But is it a choice that I would make purposefully? No. I think that in our modern landscape and context, women should always be able to financially take care of themselves in any circumstance, if the man was to just poof and disappear, right?
I totally agree.
Yeah. So I think in an Islamic context, men should try and cover the majority of the bills, but a woman should be able to step in and cover the majority of those bills if that was a necessity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's probably the smartest route to go, right? So everything that he is required to cover Islamically, he should. And then if something were to happen, you could use the woman's finances to cover in an event of someone losing their job or someone getting sick or death, right? I definitely would not encourage a 50-50 partnership from the beginning, though, because I think that's a recipe for just lines to be, I don't know, ambiguous about whose responsibility it is to cover household expenses. If you're going in and you're both putting in 50-50, it can just make that dynamic a little bit too complex, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So I think what I'm hearing from you is that going into a marriage with the agreement that there needs to be a split 50-50, not for the purposes of necessity, but just because that is the perspective that maybe the husband is taking, could be problematic.
Yeah.
Because it's a blur of, and maybe an infringement on the rights that women have in our religion.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a valid point.
Yeah.
And I think, you had alluded to before, there needing to be some flexibility in that. In case something were to happen, we help each other out, and that there is a support from both partners, but that it can be problematic going into a marriage when that is the expectation.
Exactly. I have a random question. Do you have investments?
Bitcoin.
You have a Bitcoin investment?
I have a Bitcoin.
Really?
And it just keeps going up and up and up and up. So
Really?
we'll see. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I don't have any investments.
Okay.
Yes.
Did a lot of research on this. There's some difference of opinions in our religion as to what is halal investing, and it can be quite difficult. The lines can be a bit gray. And I'm not a scholar. I'm not a person who is like super knowledgeable about this, but sometimes you have to make decisions that your heart feels content with. And so I think when it comes to like stocks, I feel a little bit maybe of a gray area there in terms of I don't know how comfortable I would be investing in certain companies and businesses, especially these really mega big corporations.
Oh, yeah.
Like I would not feel comfortable ethically investing in those. But
I would agree.
yeah,
Have you heard of the app Zoya?
I haven't. Tell me about that.
Okay, so Zoya is like this halal investing app. It's like a subscription-based service, but it is halal investing. It says halal investing for
This is
everyone.
not sponsored, by the way. So this is coming. This is not a sponsor, by the way, although maybe in the future. Hit us up, but this is coming straight from the heart. So here's a question for you. If a man asked you to build together, how would you determine whether he's a partner or a project?
That's a good question. Number one, I don't do hard labor. So if we're building together, I want to see that you have a plan in place, right? You know what you're doing. I'm happy to assist. I'm not marrying potential. I want to know that you have taken steps to get to where you want to go to. You have a 1 or 5 year goal, that you are not just saying that you want to build together or have financial success, but you actually know what that could look like, right? It's one thing to dream it, but to have some sort of concrete, action steps, right? I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and here's what I've already done to get there. Definitely want to be able to support a partner and say, oh, okay, well, let me help you with that. I see that you're striving in that way and I want to help you, rather than I'm here to motivate you to get those things done, if that makes sense. Potential could easily turn into a project. Anyone can say that they want to either have financial success or have XYZ goals, right? But whether or not they're actually doing that is a different story. So I kind of want them to demonstrate that they've already worked towards whatever goal they have in mind, or worked towards something, a marker of success for them. And then I'm happy to continue to build together, but we're building parallel. We each have our own goals and we help along the way, but we're not necessarily like doing the thing together, if that makes sense. Yeah,
I agree. I think I'm going to be saying the same thing pretty much, but I would want to know what the expectation is of me in contributing to building together. I'd need to understand what is my role in that. As you had mentioned before, what's the plan? What does that plan look like? I think would help to determine whether or not that's a partner or that is just talk or a project.
Yeah.
Let's talk through the expectations. Let's talk through what the plan is and what does it mean when he says build together.
Yeah, exactly. I want to kind of switch gears just a little bit and ask you, we've talked about relationships and we've talked about the marriage aspect of financial independence, but how do we actually raise daughters specifically who see money as a tool rather than just like kind of a trap?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think first and foremost is raising our daughters according to what our religion tells us in terms of what we discussed before, which is a woman's right in this religion to have her own money and have her financial independence. But I think like there's a huge emphasis in this religion on education. Education is huge. We need to be really highlighting that in our homes and growing up, that education is freedom. The more you learn, the more you educate yourself on various elements, your brain expands,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
There's this saying in our religion as well, the best thing a father can give his daughter is an education. And I think like that is really so important too. And education, like in various ways, obviously education on our religion, on our rights, education on everything, education on whatever you're interested in, but also education in financial literacy. And that we can use financial independence as a way of self-preservation, like you had alluded to before, that financial independence is a way of giving ourselves freedom in case something were to happen with our families, in case, even if you are married, if, you know, your husband suddenly passes,
Right.
and now you have children that are relying on you. Money absolutely is a tool for preserving your family.
Okay. So you mentioned how financial success and education go hand in hand as tools to make women independent. Could you tell me a little bit more about your experience as someone who's highly educated and how you've used either your financial independence to further your education or vice versa?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, when I graduated from college, I was really unsure of what I wanted to do in life. And I just sort of fell into a career that I was not necessarily super passionate about. I spent 3 years working for a media agency doing, I guess you could call it marketing. I found myself working up the corporate ladder and feeling really unfulfilled. And when the pandemic hit, I was working remotely and feeling really burnt out and feeling like I can't imagine doing this for the rest of my life, doing something that like I'm not super passionate about. And I decided that I was going to go back to school and get my master's. And I was able to get my master's because I had saved up enough money from the 3 years of working to pay for it and to really invest in myself.
Yeah.
I think of this as the best investment that I ever made, which was my education in finding a career that I was so in love with.
Yeah.
And now can say that I feel so much love and joy doing what I do.
Yeah.
And that was only made possible through that financial independence that I had. Although I do feel it's important to note nobody does anything alone. And it's not that I did everything by myself. I had support from my family, and I'm so grateful for. I wouldn't have been able to make these big decisions without their help. But I had the financial independence from the years of already having an education and a degree and work experience that was able to enable me to like build up. So I made an investment in myself.
Yeah.
And it's the best decision that I ever made. And if I was to give any sort of advice to young women who are starting their careers, it would be to invest in yourself. Invest in your education, invest in what you love to do. And, you know, this is a tool for not just the financial independence, but really the self-love and the finding something in life that you are joyful and passionate about that makes you happy. That will vary, obviously, from person to person. And I do feel like on the topic of financial independence and families and households that like it feels important to name there may be plenty of women out there who choose to be stay-at-home mothers and maybe they don't have an income in terms of they are not going out into the working field and making money. I just want to say that if you are a stay-at-home mother, this is also an incredibly rewarding job that people get paid to do. Think about how much it costs to have a nanny or have daycare. A mother who is staying at home with their children is providing that same care.
Right.
This is not to bash at all any women who have made that decision and maybe who are financially dependent on their spouse because they've made the decision to stay home with their children. That is just as much of a rewarding, if not more rewarding experience to have. Prioritizing your family and being present for your children, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing as well. But I don't think it's incompatible to say that you can be a stay-at-home mother and still work toward building an education for yourself and investing in yourself as well.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that even in our religion, and someone can correct me, but mothers should actually be paid for breastfeeding their kids. Like, yeah.
Agreed.
Like,
Yes.
no, but I think that's like an actual thing. A husband is supposed to provide a wet nurse for their child. And
I don't know about that.
yeah, they're supposed to provide a wet nurse. And if they don't provide, or if the mom chooses to breastfeed their child, then whatever what was going to be paid to the wet nurse would be paid to the mother. There is that idea of compensation of child rearing within Islam, so it's not out of the ordinary. That might not be feasible for every family,
Yeah.
but your husband should still be trying to give you your due that exist outside of like the maintenance cost of the family, right? Your husband gives you money for the food and for like bills or whatever, but he should be paying you a little bit something on the side because you're putting in all this extra work as well. Like I said, I'm not a scholar, but I believe that there's precedents that's been set already. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like you said, a really important point that it is incredibly valuable to be the person who is like providing the childcare, and this is incredibly valuable work and we called it when I was in school unpaid
labor.
No, it was called, give me a second, unpaid care work. Unpaid care work is the care that we provide for our children, maybe for our elderly parents, for people in our life that we're providing care for, that is a labor of love and is not necessarily paid. There are people out there who are actually paid to do these jobs, and if it is feasible within a family structure, a woman should absolutely be compensated for that care that she is providing.
100%. 100%. All right. Are you ready for our listener letter?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, this is a very long one, so bear with me.
Sure.
All right. I'm in the middle of reconciling a separation with my husband, but have stumbled upon a major blocker, which in all honesty was my making for agreeing in the first place. Would like to hear your advice to see if I can internalize a different way of thinking and thus making the marriage work. Here's some context. Before we married, my husband asked me to sign a prenup, which was very direct and honest about the fact that he wants a wife who does 50-50. He wants a wife who works, pays equal bills, and he will equally do the same in the child rearing and household. I agreed because I'm an independent person. I've worked since I was 14. And while I did have a fleeting doubt about this from an Islamic perspective, I thought, this is something that I can make work. I moved out of his house 6 months ago, and we have split custody of our 1-year-old. I've moved to the US from the UK over a year ago, and I left my family and friends and a job to start a new life. But we've not been able to move past our differences. In the 6 months, I've found a small apartment and have, of course, been paying my own expenses. I told him he needs to cover daycare until I'm more financially stable. I got a tech contract job 4 months postpartum after he told me that I need to, and paid the nanny we hired 90% of my salary. Alhamdulillah, I'm very blessed to be able to secure a good job and be able to be independent in this situation. I don't forget this. He earns $500K before tax. I earn $90K before tax. He's 11 years older than me and therefore has a higher earning potential. mashallah, he's very hardworking and smart, which of course helped him be in a good position at the age of 40. The past 3 months, I've made a conscious decision to change my behaviors and ways of speaking to him and trying to reconcile. I accept that both of us have made mistakes and I'm not blameless and can improve. He is happier with the changes that I've made, and I'm also with his changes. I've also scheduled us both individual and couples therapy from a Muslim counselor. The topic of finances have not been fully addressed in the 6 months since we've been separated. A few days ago, he brought up the fact that I've not moved my phone bill, car insurance, and healthcare from him to my own account, something I said I would do in one of our fights. To be honest, it seemed such a hassle, and I thought if we reconcile, would I have to redo all of this? My thinking was that he was happy to pay for those things. This is all he pays for in terms of my expenses prior to us separating. And now he brought it up and said that he feels like I'm taking advantage of him. And I said that I'd start paying and have it. Maybe there is some part of me that thinks he can afford it, so why is this such a big deal? On the other hand, I don't think that I'd like this in any other relationship with my peers, for example. So I think it goes back to my core beliefs that a man's responsibility is to take care of his wife. Another big part of it is that it makes me feel like he doesn't care for me, that it's such an inconsequential amount of money, $250 a month, would make him say such harmful things to me. It also makes me think that if I want to be in a marriage where things are so transactional and I truly don't know, I think his opinion is fair and I understand. I've moved everything to my own account, but I don't know if I want to continue trying with this marriage anymore. My question to you is, what are the benefits of being 50-50 in everything, especially finances, and how do you talk about finances with your spouse? Ooh, that was a lot.
Yeah, that was a big one.
I know, that was a lot. Oh my gosh. Any first thoughts?
My first thought is, although she agreed in the beginning of the marriage to do 50-50, it was obviously against her own values. And there was a difference in terms of their value system right off the bat, where he was valuing a 50-50 financial contribution, but deep down, she felt this wasn't right. She wanted him to provide for her. So right off the bat, there was a little bit of an incompatibility in terms of like how they view contributing financially to the relationship. And it sounds like ultimately that's the thing that ended up breaking them up.
Right.
Was that incompatibility. And for her, it became quite personal in terms of feeling like, because he's not willing to pay for certain elements of her life, that he doesn't love her, he doesn't care for her.
So I didn't hear anything about him not paying for the kid. It sounds it is just her expenses. While I appreciate that he was clear in his expectations up front prior to them getting married, he sounds like a very selfish person to me. I can't understand someone who makes $500,000 wants to split bills with someone who makes 90K.
Yeah.
Is a crazy, wild thought to me. And I'm wondering if it can be more equitable. Like 50-50 is not equitable in this scenario.
Yeah.
If it can be percentage based upon how much he's bringing in and how much she's bringing in.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers, but there's some way to make it more equitable where he's obviously playing a share that is commiserate to his salary, and she's paying a share that is comparable to her salary. And that would feel more fair to me than to expect 50-50, because my 50 is going to look way different than your 50. If I'm having to struggle super hard just to maintain like equality between us, that feels like resentment is going to start brewing there. It feels like that's a moment where and she is starting to question whether or not he truly loves her, right? And whether or not it's worth it. And I want to know why he is adamant about that. Like, where is this coming from? Is it because you don't want to be taken advantage of? Like, what's the reasoning behind that? And if he's more amenable to having a percentage split that is comparable to how much they're actually bringing into the relationship.
I think that's a really good point. Obviously, a bigger conversation needs to happen here about value system, but also, as you alluded to, what is the deeper feeling behind this 50-50? What is the fear that's coming up there? And especially the fact that he had asked her to sign a prenup, which, like, although in Islam we do have marriage contracts, it's quite uncommon to have a prenup. I don't know anyone who's signed a prenup who is Muslim. That maybe there is that element of distrust that is coming up there. That's obviously a deeper issue in the marriage than just this sort of element of the 50-50. So there needs to be a bigger conversation about value and the roles in the marriage, how they believe Islam is going to influence their roles in the marriage, because he obviously seems to be a bit more influenced by Western culture than he is by our religion.
Yeah, when I read this letter, I don't hear someone who is super religious or following our religious values, because I can't imagine a man being like, yeah, I make $500,000 but 50-50, and still also being like a staunch practicing Muslim. But I could be wrong, right? I do want to know, when it comes to their 1-year-old, how finances are handled there, because I don't know. I don't know if that was covered or not in her letter, but
I think she mentioned something about she has to pay for the child care.
yeah, that she was paying for the child care. 90% of her salary was going to the nanny she said, and the nanny we hired was 90% of my salary. But it doesn't say much more than that. I don't know. I also want to know what his feelings on whose responsibility it is to financially take care of the child.
Yeah.
Because then that also really tells me about him. I don't know, is he really this selfish, or is it just there's some trauma there that he needs to unpack about financial independence? Any other thoughts?
I think that's it for now.
Okay. If you want to have your listener letter read on the podcast, you can send an email to girlprayonitpod@gmail.com, and maybe we will read it on the pod. All right. It's time for Aisha Rants, where I rant about something that's bothering me that day, that month, that week, whatever.
Yeah.
So we started the podcast talking about your cat, Groovy. Yeah. Well, I have a rant about bad cats because I really don't understand it. Why are you stepping on me at 3 a.m. in the morning? That's rude. Have you ever experienced that?
I have.
I just think it's really rude. Okay, I have had cats, and I have 2 cats right now. I've had cats in the past, and I've not made it past a year of ownership with those cats. I've had 2 other cats in the past because I cannot stand a cat who just is bad.
Oh my God. So you're not monogamous when it comes to cat ownership.
No, but okay.
You are not. You are just jumping from cat to cat over here.
Okay. But here's the thing. So I had these 2 cats. I call them my Ramadan cats because I got them 2 years ago during Ramadan, and they are the loves of my life, and I love them like very dearly.
Cute.
And I've had them for 2 years, so ergo, I think the problem was that I had 2 girl cats before that, and these are boys.
Okay.
And I think boys are a little bit like boy cats are a little bit easier to love up on.
What are you saying?
What? Do you disagree?
I honestly don't know, because I've never had a boy cat before.
Oh.
But I feel like this is some sexism within the cat species you're experiencing.
Might be. But you know what? I think that boy cats are easier to love than girl cats. I just do. And call me sexist if you want to. I'll take the heat. I don't care. But I love my boy cats, but they are incredibly annoying when it comes to like food, right? They're incredibly annoying because why are you scratching at the windows? Why are you meowing incessantly? I'm going to feed you. Not only that, but you have enough fat reserves to last you at least 5 winters. There's no reason for you to be screaming at me at 4 o'clock in the morning for food. I just think it's kind of rude And I just wanted to rant about that a little bit. And other cat owners know it's with all the love in my heart that I rant about these horrible, horrible cats. They're not horrible. They're actually really sweet. But when it comes to food time and the 3 a.m. zoomies, they are actually like insufferable. And then I have one cat who is actually super attached to me, and I cannot kick him out of my bedroom. I can't close the door. He has to be able to see me in order to know that things
That's
are
sweet.
It's sweet until you realize that he's just there. He just wants to he thinks that this is his home.
Yeah.
Like he pays bills.
Right.
That's rude. It's just like a man to do that. But
Oh my God.
I mean,
This is like, in the pandemic,
Yeah.
like in the beginning, a bunch of people bought like cats or
Mhm.
dogs, and they were working from home, and the
Right.
pets got like super attached to them. And then when
Right.
they went back to work,
yeah.
it was just like intense separation anxiety for these animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what this cat has. And he was also the runt of the litter, right?
Hmm.
So he was separated from his mom, I think, a little bit too soon. And then he used to like nibble on my earlobe, and it was really cute. But what that meant is he has to be near me at all times.
Right.
And so I cannot even close the door
Oh my
when I'm sleeping.
gosh.
So he has to always be there, which means that when he decides that the sleeping time is over, it's over for everybody.
Right.
So he's walking on me, then
Right.
he's meowing,
Right.
he's scratching at the windows, and it's
Mhm.
just, come on, bro. Why are we doing this?
Just gotta get that food.
Right. And
When he's hungry, he's hungry.
Right.
Can't wait.
and supposedly cats are independent. No, the hell they aren't. They are not independent. Okay.
They're interdependent,
Yeah,
okay?
They're interdependent. Full circle here. Full circle moment. But anyways, I love my cats. Tell us if you also have similar. I'm sure there are other cat people who understand what I'm talking about.
Of course, we love our cats, but they can be naughty sometimes.
Naughty. They can be straight up assholes.
Ooh!
Yeah.
You heard it here, people.
A-holes. Okay. You know that we're Meet the Fockers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Asshole. Asshole. Yeah, that's my cat. That's my cat sometimes. But honestly, it's like an 80-20 split. Like 20% of the time they're like demons.
Mhm.
And then the other 80% they're like these sweet cuddly creatures, and they're just so cute, and I'm like, oh, the
Okay.
babies.
Well, at least 80% is good.
Yeah, I say 80 right now because I'm in a good mood.
Yeah.
Like, talk to me during the other 20. I'm like, they're like this all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. But, anyways, that's my rant. Bad cats. All
Love
right.
it. All right.
Okay.
Well, we'll end here for today.
Yeah, we'll end here for today. And we hope that you come visit us again at Girl Pray on It.
Yes.
We're supposed to say that together.
Sorry, I'm out of it. Okay, 1,
2,
2, 3.
Girl, pray on it. Okay, bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Girl Pray on It podcast. We hope today's conversation gave you something to reflect on. Be sure to follow us on both Instagram and TikTok at Girl Pray on It Pod, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Girl Pray on It Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen, so you'll always be up to date with our newest episodes. Stay connected, stay encouraged, and as always, girl, pray on it.